Hi, everybody. It's Jenny Jackman, and Tracy will be joining shortly. I'm seeing participants enter, so we'll just hang out here for a minute. We are very excited to be sharing once again this truly unique opportunity. I was just on the phone this morning with a couple of other prospective investors. There's a lot of interest, and I think it's gaining traction as we're going too, which is super exciting to see. This is a great site and a really fun town in California. So I'm seeing we've got about 15. So I think we can get started. So the way we're going to do this is a little bit different. I actually have to jump off partially through the presentation. And I usually turn the time over to Tracy anyway, because she's really good at talking about how the shares are split and those kinds of things. So Emily's going to run the slides. I'm going to talk with you about this opportunity and the site and the market and the excitement there. And then when Tracy joins, we'll do what we normally do, and I'll turn the time over to her, and then I'll have to jump off. But so let's get going. This is True by Redlands, True by Hilton in Redlands. I will read this first paragraph, and then we usually give everyone just a minute to review the next couple paragraphs. This is the disclaimer that you'll typically see with any opportunity. This presentation and any accompanying materials are neither an offer to sell nor a solicitation of an offer to buy the securities described herein. An offering may only be made by a private placement memorandum issued by the issuing company, which reflects the intended terms, plans, and structure as described therein. You should read the private placement memorandum and its exhibits in their entirety to fully understand all the implications and risks of the investment. You should invest only after a careful review of the applicable private placement memorandum and its exhibits. So those will be available shortly. Tracy and I have been going back and forth with some comments, nothing crazy, but those are almost ready to be uploaded to the investment portal. So I'll just give you 1 minute to finish reading this and know that those will be available shortly. Okay, and I've seen we have to. No, go ahead, Emily. This is great. This is a fun video that we received. These are really so maybe some of you have stayed in through before, maybe not. There's this amenity-rich, extra large lobby area. It's a fun multi-generational neighborhood breakfast bar. 24/7 ground and go. One of the notable things about these multifunctional uses used for business and/or gatherings. You're always having fun games, kind of a choice between pool and some other possible table games. The rooms are very tidy, really organized, really easy to set up. Really big, bright bathrooms. So if people do everything in the bathroom, Awesome. Thank you, Emily. So let's review the contents of the deck we're going to view today. We will take a run through the investment summary. We're going to look at the numbers. We have a very quick, expeditious business plan. We'll take a look at that. We're going to look at construction costs and some other costs associated with the deal, sources and uses. And then we're going to take a look at the overall larger view of the market, which is really important for this site. And then we'll drill down a bit more and look at the actual local demand drivers in the local site. And then again, look at all of our metrics and our reversion metrics. And then Tracy will take over and explain some more things about the particular investment. Slide. So here's a view of that lobby again. And not sure if everybody on this call has seen a true before. It's really notable exterior, and it's a very tight, highly value engineered package, but I like how notable it is, really fun and fresh. Slide. Right now, we are in the first phase of raising 6.3 million in equity. And we want to take down the land first, and then move into a phase where we're getting ready for the construction documents and the permit. The premium location, again, is already entitled. And that's one of the things that makes it possible for us to move through this expeditious plan. In California, it can take a couple of years to get to the point in approvals that this site is already. And so we believe that by moving forward on this plan, we could be under construction by the end of this year, and then be open at the end of 2024. Slide. This is a QR code. If you want to scan that real quick, you can actually take a walk through one of the TRUs that's in existence in Buffalo, New York. And you will see there the notable things we've already talked about, this amenity-rich lobby area that's extra large. They also have really nice fitness centers. And again, that breakfast bar with the pancake machine is super fun as well. Slide. So these are those return metrics I was telling you about, though. These have been upgraded recently because we've been going back and forth with the brand reps at Hilton, and we just had some new information. We were being ultra conservative with our first metrics. So we are now looking at 10.2 cash on cash, multiple on invested capital of 2.7, with an IRR of 23.3. That's what we're seeing in our underwriting. Slide. Again, the construction duration is going to be about 12 months. Now, if you were to study the development deck from Hilton, they actually say, hey, most TRUs are going to be built from 9 to 11 months in duration. Again, they're very fast. They're meant to be very efficient in both building and operating. But we're putting a 12-month duration on our underwriting just because, you know, I'm in California. I do this for a living. I work for another company that also develops and operates select service hotels in California. So I have some understanding that things will happen, and they'll happen anywhere. I mean, California, things just take a little bit longer. So 12 months, though, still a relatively short timeline, but for a TRU, we're building in a little bit of float. Again, the opening would be late 2024. We're then going to ramp and optimize this asset. Ramping happens very quickly with TRUs. Historically, they've only been around for 6 years, but the brand ramps very quickly. And so we will optimize the asset, and then we are planning to exit in year 5. Slide. So here's that timeline, just kind of in a nutshell here. Again, we're raising, we want to close on the land. We plan to get that permit later this year. When we get that permit in hand and all the construction documents ready to go, we want to close on the construction loan, break ground and get going, have that 12-month duration for the build, open late 2024, ramping, optimizing. Year 3, we would move out of the construction loan, put in permanent financing, and then exit in year 5. That is the plan. Let's take a look at the sources of capital here. Again, the equity that we're raising is 35% of the overall capital stack. We have a total project cost of $17.9 million. So the partners are going to be 6.3. And then we are talking to different lenders right now. We're not exactly sure how the mix will flesh out, but we're thinking CPACE will be about half of the debt. And then some other kind of a local lender will be the other half of the debt. Slide. So again, you see those sources on the left side, and our uses are 2.8 is what we have the land contracted for, and the remaining construction cost 15.1, coming again to a total project cost of 17.9. Oh, I should talk about our per key cost. This is good. We can stay there on that slide. Sorry, Emily. So I think maybe I misspoke a couple. I hope not, but the total project cost is 17.9. I think I might have said 18, but so this per key price at 199 is a great deal. And that's only happening because this is a TRU. And again, this is a very efficient, tight, highly value engineered package. It's meant to be that way. It's designed that way. We are going straight prototype on this site. I just checked in with the GC. the other day that I've been working with over the last few months just to keep checking to see what pricing that he is looking at. He just started another Tru in another city in Southern California. So he has some real-time understanding of what's happening on the ground there with pricing. So we're seeing hard costs of 12.6, and there is a 5% contingency built in there. Soft costs of 1.1. We have 810 earmarked for other FF&E and pre-opening costs, closing at 462,000. Again, for per key, all in, including land, of 199, which is great. Here's some of the deal highlights outlined again. We're seeing 90 keys. This property is 4 stories, typical type 5 wood frame building. This site is entitled. A Tru will work on a smaller site. That's another one of the things that makes a Tru relatively efficient. We had this site in particular is 1.6 acres. Again, we talked about brand efficiency, the quick build, all in 199 per key. And this is a higher barrier to entry project too, moving into California. So that, again, this is a great price for California. Slide. So let's start to kind of talk about the market. Logistics is huge along the Interstate 10 corridor in Southern California. And so that is a major demand driver in this particular area. In the city of Redlands itself, there's a lot of healthcare and public institution jobs. And then leisure is also a driver. This is a place for the great outdoors is well loved. There's a ton of trails. There's even skiing not too far away. And it's kind of the entry to the desert. If you're headed east, it's kind of the entry to all Southern California has to offer if you're headed to the west. And so it's sort of a great stopping place for access to a lot of different leisure activities. We'll talk some more about those. All right, so I talked about that macro view of the market. So here we are looking at what's deemed the Western Connected Freight Corridor. You may be wondering why we're looking at this. And again, it's because logistics is absolutely a huge driver in this particular area of Southern California. And you'll see what's termed these mega regions. And we're actually in a sweet spot where 2 mega regions overlap, one being the LA Basin and the other being the Inland Empire. And again, what you're seeing here on the far left is the largest port in North America, that's LA Long Beach Port. And then it is connected on the far right with the second largest port in North America, which is Houston, with these other mega regions along the way where logistics activity is very vibrant and growing. Also, I pulled the numbers from Caltrans just to look at what kind of traffic actually brushes right by our site, because our site is on Interstate 10, right on Interstate 10. And there's 150,000 vehicles per day. So it's a very large number and gives you some indication of the scale of the activity there. Slide. All right, so here we can see where Long Beach Port of LA is in relation to Redlands. It's about 65, 70 miles. All the shipping comes in, all these goods come in, and they get dumped right onto the freeway systems. And all of these ghosted areas you're seeing, those are actually, this gives you an idea of the scale of the logistics activity. These are all the white reflective roofs of the millions and millions of square feet of logistics centers, distribution centers, storage facilities, et cetera. And you'll see a hotspot right there out where we are, a growing hotspot in Redlands and San Bernardino on the far right side. This is just kind of interesting. The growth has been really enhanced over the last few years. There was actual net decline in population in the big coastal cities of LA and the Bay Area during COVID. So there was even more migration happening from those cities a bit eastward. And again, that's where we're located in the Riverside, San Bernardino, Redlands metropolitan statistical area. And on the left, you see a graph that's just showing the growth, kind of natural organic growth that's been happening in that area anyway over the decades, and it just continues. Slide. Some of the demand drivers, there's actually a number of institutions of higher learning, the largest being Cal State University right next door in San Bernardino. Slide. We talked about some of the other demand drivers being the great outdoors, and there's several really fun kind of historic places to visit, some museums. There's a really good concert venue right there in Redlands. And then Esri is a large multinational company. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Slide. So Esri is less than a mile from our site, and they're just a huge company in there in the geolocation high tech space, and they bring in their clients all the time, and they have not only their headquarters less than a mile away, but a large actual learning center that's designated for training clients. And I did speak with the CFO not too long ago. They would be happy to take a block of rooms on a regular basis. So I think that would be a great piece of business ongoing, and we would be looking forward to having a relationship with them. So here, and now we're getting a little bit closer now to our site. We can see those demand drivers we just talked about literally clustered around our site. Next. Zooming in just a little bit closer, we can see our site, and across the street, there's this really great vintage coffee shop called Slow Bloom. There's also a vintage taco shop right there. And the day, one of the days I was there, it was just rocking. There was like people going in and out. And this is a really good flavor for our particular guest profile. They like the fundamental things done really, really well. They don't like to pay for a lot of fluff, and they love local flavor mixed with having access to national brands. So we have this local stuff right across the street, 5-minute walk away. We have this, what's called the Packing District, really nice new shopping center that's anchored by Sprouts and some other, there's some national brands, eateries, breweries, things like that. And then you can also see Esri there on the far left, that campus we talked about. Slide. So we do need to talk about the competitive set. This competitive set is all upper mid-scale. And this was a strategic decision that we made to use this for a competitive set. And we didn't just like pull it out of our hat. We talked to brand reps inside Hilton. We talked to STR rep, and we looked carefully at what was there, what was around us, and decided to pull this custom comp set because even though theoretically, a True is supposed to be a mid-scale product, it does not perform like that. It performs much more like an upper mid-scale and sometimes even like a upscale product. So this is the right competitive set. And this also kind of shows us how these freeway hotels kind of roll along Interstate 10, and we go from San Bernardino right into Loma Linda, right into Redlands. And we are at the far east side. A little bit more information about our competitive set. Hotels roughly all about the same size. Most of them are a little bit older. The newest one is the Home2 that opened in 2022. It's about a quarter mile away. And you can see our numbers from 2022 that were kind of the basis for our projections. Slide. And here again are those numbers. And this is really kind of amazing. Historically, this area has been even high 80s for occupancy. There were 2 hotels that opened in the area in 2022. And by the way, we did check, I've spoken with the planner, and I've looked at the CoStar documents and all of the information and the analytics. There's nothing in the near future coming, no more supply. So we would be it. But there was new supply in 2022. And so it bumped the occupancy just a little bit, but it immediately started to bounce back. And the ADR at 145, and again, RevPAR at 114. Really good numbers. We've got to talk about RPI and penetration. So normally when you open a hotel, you're looking at, I don't know, like 1, 2, even 3 years to really penetrate and get your fair share of the market and beyond. But what happens with a True, and again, this is historically, this is for all Trues in the entire portfolio of Hilton. They ramp in a matter of months. So we chose to still be very conservative, actually, and we're showing an RPI in our projections of 110 by the end of year 2, year 3. But again, we are ramping up to 97 year 2, and then 110 year 3. Slide. Our reversion metrics are shown here. We're just holding our occupancy right around 80 for the whole time. Again, if we just continue with the numbers rolling over the number of hold period years, we had come to a RevPAR 144. Let's talk about our exit cap. Again, what the best thing you can do, really the best numbers we ever have, is to pull from CoStar. So we did that, and we projected out through 2028. And what we saw was mid-scale products were trending at about a 7.3 cap in 2028. However, upper mid-scale and upscale products were trending at 6.5 cap. So we actually chose again to be conservative. We're capping our NOI with 7.5. in year 2028. Slide. So this is where I'm going to turn the time over to Tracy, our wonderful leader, my wonderful partner. She can kind of explain the investment opportunity and the shares.
Thank you, Jenny. Hello, everyone. I do apologize. I'm a little late. I'm actually in the middle of a closing right now. And for those who don't know, closing with commercial real estate, it takes like a week or so, and you're constantly getting calls and being pulled and tugged. So hopefully nobody bothers me in the next 20 minutes. But if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A chat, and I'll be able to answer those questions as they come up or at the end. So I'll start to talk about our structure. So for those who are new to private equity investing and this type of investment opportunity, what we do is we form a partnership. And in that partnership, there are ownership interests. And in this particular case, we've decided to structure this in 3 classes. So we have Class A and Class B for our investors, and Class C would be Jenny and I, our companies, as the co-sponsors or co-managers of the particular project. Now, why do we have Class A shares? Well, we're doing Class A and Class B because we want to incent investors to come in as early as possible, because we need to take down the land in June, and then we'll continue with the project and the construction loan to begin breaking ground and have construction. It takes a while to get your designs done, and so we can't possibly, it's not humanly possible to have our architectural designs completed before we must close on the land. So we want to incent investors to come and close with us on the land in June, at the end of June. And so we are allowing, for the first time ever in history, a $10,000 minimum investment. And again, this is because for 2 reasons. One is we want to incent investors to come in so we can take down the land quickly, and we'll continue raising from there. But we also want to see more investors get in. Most of our deals have been for accredited investors and had larger minimums. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say, please, please lower your minimums. And, I would like to invest, but I'm not accredited. I'm sophisticated, but I'm not accredited. And we want to make opportunities available. As you know, our mission is to empower people to build wealth through real estate. And so we are listening, we're hearing. And so for this investment, when you are Class A, when you invest and commit in June, your money has to be in, you can have a minimum investment of $10,000. And in addition to that, we're juicing it up with an additional % on the preferred return. So everyone who comes in as a Class A pioneer investor, they're going to help us to take down the land and make sure that we get this deal closed in June. We'll be able to have a minimum investment of 10%, but also a 9% preferred return, as opposed to an 8% preferred return that we're offering after June 30th, with a minimum investment of $25,000 for the Class B shares. So Class A shares are only open till June 30th. Funds must be received, paperwork must be in order for you to have that benefit of a Class A pioneer investor. Additional, and this is the same for both classes, people often ask, how do I get the Hilton owner benefit? In order to qualify for Hilton owner benefits under this project, you have to invest $65,000 or more. And so if you invest $65,000 in either class, you will be eligible for those benefits. It is important for me to note that we do not grant those benefits. That is a Hilton benefit. And so we do not control it. We just ensure that our investors get it when it's available. So we abide by whatever rules and regulations they have around the Hilton owner benefit. So just to recap, I want you to come in at Class A. You can invest a minimum of $10,000. We have a very few of those spots, so you want to get in as soon as possible, and definitely before June 30th, and you'll have a 9% preferred return. And for those who may not be familiar with that terminology or how that works, I'll explain that in an illustration. But if you come in after June 30th, the minimum is $25,000, and there's an 8% preferred return. So let's move on and talk about the structure that I was just talking about, which here's our org chart. And as I mentioned, we have A shares and B shares. Now, Truly Redlands LLC is the partnership that we have formed. It's a single purpose entity formed in Delaware that will own the
Christy,
hotel.
I gotta jump off. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
We just kind of swapped places today, but
Yes.
thanks everybody for being on. Let us know if you have questions.
All right,
See ya.
we'll talk to you later, Jenny. Thank you. Okay, so Truly Redlands is the partnership, and we form partnerships to acquire the hotels, and that's how we structure these investments. So this will be a Delaware, it is, we've already formed it. It's a Delaware single purpose entity, which means that when the investment closes, when we exit from this property, the LLC will be dissolved. So it's for one purpose, which is to own the True by Hilton in Redlands, California. They'll be the hotel owner. And then it'll be managed by my management company. It's part of the TLT Solutions Enterprise, Kanza Management. We'll do the third-party management for the hotel. We'll also, be a sponsor in this project, and we'll be investing in the project as well. And we're partnering, with Jenny as a part of our mission with She Has a Deal. Jenny came through She Has a Deal and was in the pitch competition. Our goal is to create new pathways to hotel ownership and development for women. And so we create opportunities for women to enter into the space and to grow and elevate in the space. And so one way that we're doing that is to partner where needed. So Jenny needed a partner in order to get this deal closed. She needed an experienced experienced hotelier owner. And so we've stepped into that position. And also we thought it was a really great opportunity, a good deal to add to our portfolio as well. And so then the A shares and B share members will own an ownership interest in Truly Redlands. So that's how we're structured. It's a basic, simple structure that you'll see in private equity investors with, little twists and turns depending on who puts the deal together and the type of deal. Next slide. So just to repeat, as Jenny said, what we're expecting in the way of return metrics, these are projected for the project, a 10% cash on cash return, a 10.7 multiple, and a 23.35% internal rate of return. For those who may not be familiar with those terms, I say that a lot because we do attract and have new private equity investors who join us frequently. So we want to make sure that they understand and that they're learning and that you're all learning along the way. Sometimes we get those who invest who want to become sponsors in the future. So I like to make sure that I'm educating along the way. And we do that throughout all of our investment projects. So with the 10% cash on cash, that just means based on how much money you put in, you would divide how much you get out on an annual basis, divided by how much you put in. That gives you what your cash on cash return would be. Now, remember, these numbers are for the project. The projected returns for you as an investor, I'm going to go over an illustration because that will vary by, that varies because as sponsors in the project, we earn what we call a success fee or promote. And so once we project what that promote will look like based on the projected cash flows, then you as an investor, these are the returns that that we expect based on our projections and our underwriting. So it goes down slightly just to a 9.3% cash on cash, a 2.33 multiple on invested capital, and a 19.65 internal rate of return, nearly 20%. So what does all that mean? It means, as I mentioned, the cash on cash is, how much you get out each year. Cash on cash is the annual metric how much you get out each year over what you put in. The multiple is based on how much equity that you put in the deal. So if you're doing $100,000, then you can expect over the life of the project to receive a little more than, actually not a little more, probably double plus a third of your money back. And that's a simple calculation. It's just like, how much did you get back over the 5 years, or how much you got back over, how much you put in. And internal rate of return is really how much your money is earning while it's in the deal. So it gives you an opportunity to compare different investments based on the stream of cash flows. And so in this particular deal, while your money is invested in the deal, it's earning 19.65%. And that's based on our projected cash flows and when the cash comes out. You can actually take your distributions and you can invest in other projects and increase your yields on the project. So that's those three metrics. That's how we essentially will measure returns for this type of an investment. I'm going to go on and talk about you as $100,000 investment, what that would look like. This is an illustration, and it's meant to show you based on what we project, what we would project and illustrate for $100,000. Doesn't mean this will happen. This is based on projections, but I wanted to educate for those who don't know, but also to make visible for those who do what you would expect. So in this investment, cash flows come a little bit later because the project has to be built. So if you look in year zero for an internal rate of return is always the initial investment. So it's a negative number. You invest $100,000, and then in year one, there's no returns, right? Because we're building the property. And then we expect to quickly start earning revenue in year two. And so because this is for A-class shareholder with a 9% preferred return. So based on the projected cash flows in year two, the investors would get, and this is Class B as well, but for Class B, it would only be 8% versus Class A, it's 9%. So the projections don't indicate that there would be a 9% return in year one. So investors get 100% of what is available, which is expected to be roughly $8,300 in year two based on a $100,000 investment. So that's a little over 8% return in year one. Now, not to fret that, it is a 9% preferred return. And so there is it doesn't compound, but it's cumulative, meaning that in year two, we're not achieving the 9%. So we'll pick that back up and make sure that when the deal exits, that you're getting your full 9% return on your $100,000 that you invest. You're going to get that amount before anything is earned by the sponsors. So there's any type of promote is given out first. Monies have to go back to you as an investor at the 9% return. So in year three, you're probably wondering, why is that number going down? You would think that that number was going up. The reason being is that the plan is to refinance in year three. So we would have a construction loan during year 1, 2, and into 3. We would refinance, and there are costs associated with refinancing. So we did not anticipate doing a cash out refinance, which is a possibility, but we like to do a conservative model. So we said we would use cash flow from the property to cover the cost of the refinance, which we estimated at a 2% of the loan amount. So we're essentially going to take the construction loan, roll it into a permanent loan at the same principal balance, and not take out any more debt on the property, although we could potentially do that. Right now, we're just projecting to have a wash of the same principal when we refinance to this. So because of the cost of the refinance, the cash flow would be lower at $6,700 in year three. So 100% of cash flows would go to investors. And in this case, it would be an estimated $6,700 for someone who's investing $100,000. Again, the percentages are the same no matter how much you invest. So this is $400,000. If you're investing, 10, you just take zeros off based on what you're investing, or divide if you're doing $25,000, but it's the same interest or same return rate no matter how much you invest. And then year 4, then that's when we really get our steam. We've refinanced. We're into permanent financing, and at that time, yes, it's expected or projected that the 9% pref would be achieved. Now, because the 9% was not achieved in previous years, we have to do a catch up. Okay, so all money would go to investors in year 4 and 5. Okay, so excuse me. So there is the accumulation from before of $5,600. Give me a water. Okay, so in year 5, the same thing happens. And it's an, excuse me, I'm having that problem again. Okay, had to get some water. Okay, so in year 5, we're also expected to receive the 9% pref or the projection. There's still an accumulation from the catch-up from previous years. But in this year, after the catch-up, after the 9% pref, there's also leftover from the 9%, that's a 70-30 split. So 70% goes to investors and their pro rata share. And in this case, it's $1,600 for the investor who did 100,000. And this year, we're also talking about exiting. Our projection is to exit. So the capital gain is $86,000 for the $100,000 investor. And then they get the return on equity. Sorry, guys. So back to year 5. So we're expected to exit in year 5 with the capital gain of 86,000, return on equity of 100,000. That gives a total of 203,000. So that's how you get your multiple, because when you add up all of the year 5 with the preceding years, you get a total of $233,440, which is basically a 2.33x multiple on your dollars. So this is how the waterfall would occur. And this is based on the projections. This is just an illustration for a $100,000 investment. Again, percentages are the same, regardless of how much you invest. The percentages are the same. Of course, the dollar amounts go up based on how much you put in. So the more you put in, of course, the more you get back. But the effective percentage is always the same when it comes to these types of investments. Now, if you are an A shareholder versus a B shareholder, it's a 9% versus a B shareholder would be 8%. So these cash flows would look a little bit different, but the concept is the same on how this particular investment is structured with the pref plus the 70-30 split between investors as well as sponsors. Okay. So maybe we should pause and take some questions, Emily. Do we have any questions?
We have just one question so far. Mimi asks, how do your completed deals returns look relative to the projections for this project?
Yep, so they're pretty similar, probably a little bit less. This is a new construction, so we do expect to yield a higher internal rate of return. We have not exited any of our hotels. We still have them. So I don't have the effective internal rate of return, but from a cash on cash perspective, they're very close. We've had higher ones in the past, but because of interest rate hikes and things, you're going to see a lot of more pressure on yields for investments. So interest rates have gone up. They've pretty much doubled. So we have underwritten this at a 10% for a construction loan and a 7.5% for a permanent loan. If any of those numbers come down, then you'll see those yields go up. So everybody would benefit from that.
Thanks. Great question, Mimi. Cecily asks, how do you invest? Can you go over the process?
Yes, I can go over the process. So I was hoping the documents would be loaded before this call. I just got an email from the lawyer. Hopefully I'll have those by the end of the day and we can get those loaded. But the process is that if you are interested in investing, you should sign up on the portal. The investor portal is investors.tltsolutions.net. If you could put that in the chat for them, Emily, I'd appreciate that because I don't think we have it on the slide. So yes, or you can scan the QR code, which Emily always makes it easy for you. Scan the QR code, which will take you to our landing page, and there is a invest now button there. So you can go to the landing page and just hit invest now. And when you go to the TLT Solutions portal, you have to sign up and join the portal. And the investment is not live yet, but you can sign up so that when it is time for us to put out the documents, we'll definitely be sending out a message to everyone on the portal, as well as we'll put it out to everyone who has attended the Zooms as well. So stay tuned. Hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours, those documents will be live, and that's how you will to sign up for the investment. Now, there are 3 legal documents that you have to complete when you invest. This is a private placement investment and a private offering. And so you are going to read the private placement memorandum, which is all the disclosures about the sponsors as well as the deal. And there's also an operating agreement, which talks about how the partnership will operate. The partnership, which is Truly Redlands LLC, which you'll be a member of that particular LLC. And so it talks about how you will get your distributions, how managers and sponsors are paid. It talks about how tax treatments are, if there's a dispute, how we'll handle it, etc. So just think about, it's the company agreement. So how will the company, in this case, the partnership is the company, how it's going to operate, and you as a member, how you and what your rights, responsibilities, and obligations are as a member of the entity are all in the operating agreement. And then the subscription agreement is the last document that you would fill out when you have reviewed the documents. You're like, yep, I want to invest. Then you're going to fill out the subscription agreement. There's a questionnaire that we're required to have completed by the SEC as a private offering. And that's where you tell us, hey, I want to invest in this opportunity. Here's how I want to hold my ownership interest. And this is where, I want you to send my distributions, et cetera, et cetera. Here's my address, everything that we need to know in order to file a tax return. So because we're a partnership, this is a pass-through entity. We'll complete a 1065, IRS 1065 each year, and you'll get a K-1. And the K-1 will show you or give your tax preparer yourself your share of the profit and losses of the company. And then you would share that and put that as a part of your 1040, and you'll pay taxes based on whatever your tax situation is. So our partnership is a pass-through entity, and taxes, you're taxed at the individual level. So those are the 3 documents. You'll then wire your funds. We have an escrow account set up at American International, and they will keep those funds in escrow until closing occurs. So your money is not at risk until you actually own something. And in this case, if you're in the A shares and you're part of the takedown of the land, you'll be an owner in the land to start, and then that'll roll over and you'll be an owner in the whole entire property. But the monies are kept in escrow. We do not use monies for due diligence. And if for any reason the deal would not close, 100% of that money will come back to you. Once it's proclaimed that, we wouldn't close for whatever reason. But it is, again, kept in escrow with an escrow agent, a third party. So that's how essentially it is done. And once it closes, we do have monthly reports that we send out to investors. So when you enroll on the portal, that's how we communicate to investors. We send out emails through the portal, but all of your documents are housed on the portal. So we'll send out monthly reports, which you can read those, but they're also always on the portal. If for whatever reason you get the email and you're busy and you lose it, it's on the portal. Any tax documents are on the portal. The private placement, the operating agreement, the subscription agreement, executed documents are on the portal. So everything that you would need 24/7, you have access to the investor portal. And then when we do distributions, the distributions are made through ACH. And that information is housed on the portal. So you can check and say, oh, what was my distribution? I don't, remember seeing it. You can look on the portal and it'll tell you all your distributions that were sent to your account. And if they don't match, you'll let us know, but it's almost impossible not to match because it's a file, that goes directly from the portal and into the bank to give you your distribution. And then we have quarterly meetings. So we like to meet quarterly via Zoom so that we can share how the investment is performing and answer any questions real time. So I like to get on with investors. You don't have to attend. It's totally voluntary for you, but we will be there every quarter and give you an update on how everything is performing. And we'll also give you an outlook of what we see for the future and the exit strategies and just anything that you need to know as an investor. We'll be communicating to you either through the monthly summaries or the quarterly reports and on Zoom for you to ask questions real time. And then we used to have an annual meeting before COVID. I'm going to try to bring back the annual meetings. So we bring all our investors together, have an annual meeting, and that way people get to know each other because we're about empowering people to build wealth and they can, share and meet other people who are investing and looking for opportunities to grow their wealth through investments in real estate or other things. So I'm going to try to bring that back next year. So all of you would be who are investing would be invited to that as well. I think that's about it. Is there any other questions?
There is, Tracy. So
Okay.
Rebecca asks a really great question. She's curious about who did the entitlements for the land for this project. If it was someone prior to our team, why would they have done that?
Yeah, so the seller did all the entitlements because they were intending to build, and then they decided that they, wanted to go to some other projects. So they decided to sell this project and focus on other projects. So they did it with the intention of building, and that's why they did the entitlements. And another reason, even if they, for whatever reason, weren't intending to build, they said they were. It's more valuable. Land is more valuable entitled than it is just raw land. So, a lot of times developers who do this for a living will buy raw land, they'll get it entitled, they might build some, they may sell them, but the value goes up when you take the time to go through that whole process of entitlements.
Great, thanks, Tracy.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like we have any other questions in the Q&A at this time, but I do encourage anybody who's in attendance who might have a question to just drop it in the Q&A and we'll have Tracy address it live on the call. If for whatever reason we don't get to it and you had another question, there will be a follow-up email from the Zoom call that you'll receive tomorrow, and that has our email information. So if you have any further questions after the call is over, you can reach out to that email address and we'll answer any of your questions directly.
Yeah, and just one last thing, I will make sure Emily will send out when the legal documents are live. So they're finished. I just need to get the finals from the lawyer, and there's a couple of other disclosures since we did make this a 506B and you don't have to be accredited. There's a lot of additional disclosures that we had to bring forth. So we do apologize for the delay because I know I promised that they would be available last week, but they are coming. And so it just gives you more time to get ready, to be ready to invest, to get your monies together because we do need them in escrow for those who are interested. And Viviana will she may send out an indication of interest. So I know people are vying for some of those $10,000 slots. So want to make sure that, we just take them on a first come, first served basis. Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tracy.
Right.
It does look
Thank
like we
you,
had,
Emily.
it does look like we had one other question come in.
Oh, sure. Mhm.
Oliver asks about why, I think his question is why the LLC is based in
Delaware.
Maryland.
It's Delaware.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's a long answer, but my short answer, I'll make it short, is that we like to form our partnerships in states that are friendly to partnerships and that understand these types of private equity deals. And then also the ones that don't have the state taxes. So generally you'll see people forming these in Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada, because they don't, they don't have state taxes. But I prefer Delaware because Delaware has a chancery court, and the chancery court is very, what's the word I'm using? Very friendly to businesses and partnerships like this. So the Chancery Court really understands how these partnerships work. And so if you had an issue and you had to have some type of resolution, you can go to the Delaware Chancery Court and you'll be able to review the case, and they'll understand the structures. Whereas some other states, they don't do this on a regular basis. And I don't know the history as to why so many businesses formed in Delaware. I think they made it very, tax favorable for a lot of businesses to be formed in Delaware. And as a result of them getting so many businesses forming in Delaware, they've created this whole court and system around managing small businesses when there's any, not small businesses, but partnerships and other types of businesses in the partnership structure. So I just choose it because I like the fact that they understand how these partnerships work. And so if there were any grievances on the limited partner side or even as a general partner side, that they would understand them and be able to rule, accordingly. So that's why, we choose Delaware, but we choose it because it's a, non-tax state, and that they are friendly to these types of partnerships and businesses. So if we didn't do Delaware, we'd do Wyoming or Nevada. I just happen to always choose Delaware. That's where all of my entities are, and it's just very simple. I know how to deal with Delaware. They know, and so it just makes it easier each time.
Thanks for that clarification, Tracy.
Yeah.
It
And
looks
we
like
will-
at this time there are no other questions in the queue.
Yeah, and let me follow up with that one just to say that we also have to be licensed, to do business in California or wherever the hotel is located. So we do that as well. So even though we're a Delaware entity, we still have to be licensed to do business in California, and we would file for that, and actually have a property that we're closing on this week in California. We did a Delaware entity, and we've become registered to do business in California as well. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining. I'm going to hop up, and it's mommy pickup time right across the street. So anyway, I thank you all for attending. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Jenny. If you have any questions about, completing the paperwork, Viviana Wilkins is our Director of Investor Relations. And so she does all the processing of the paperwork, and there'll be a notice to go out when it is live and ready to be signed. So we look forward to having you on this journey and this partnership with us. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.